Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Andy.
And today we are entering the exciting universe that is the John Wick universe to talk about the latest spin-off attempt. There's been a spin-off TV show.
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot of success from what I understand. And now a spin-off movie, and it is entitled Ballerina. Actually, I guess technically now it's entitled From the World of John Wick, Ballerina. They really should have just stuck with Ballerina, I think. But I know they added that other part so that people would go, oh, John Wick, I know that.
Yeah.
Let's go see it.
Absolutely, they did.
All right, so I'll give a summary of this movie. We'll dive in. When Eve is a young girl, she witnesses a group of mercenaries attack their home and kill her father. Afterwards, she is sent to an orphanage that trains killers themselves. Now, as a promising young assassin, she embarks on a personal revenge mission to take those responsible for her father's murder.
It's about all that needs to be said.
Andy.
Yeah.
Was Ballerina good?
So here's the thing. Sometimes, we get to talk about, when we're doing Friendship, we're talking about Taxi Driver and the nuance of Taxi Driver and how it's really a story about loneliness and isolation. And we get to dive really deep. And sometimes we just get to say, tons of people get blown up by grenades and this movie rules. Because that's what I'm saying right now. I loved every second of this. Inject this movie directly into my veins. It's awesome.
I'm right there with you. My answer is firmly yes. And I said exactly what you're saying. Yes, because it knows what it is. And what it is, it doesn't matter that the story is generic slop.
No.
The action is top notch.
It's unreal.
Watching this, I've mentioned it several times lately on the podcast, how other action movies, it's like you've got to step up your game. You're living in a world that John Wick exists now.
Yeah.
And of course, this is a John Wick movie. And I'm watching this and I was thinking in my head, just kind of laughing to myself, like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. These action sequences and these action set pieces are so awesome and so well choreographed that I'm like, this is why other action movies are failing, because they're not putting this
because
level
the bar is so high
of effort and detail and just an understanding of what's cool and what works on film.
That's what I was going to say. Just exactly what I was going to say. An understanding of hey, you know what would be cool? If she shoved a grenade in a guy's mouth and pinned him behind a door and he just exploded into oblivion. So let's just go film that. And they do. And it's glorious.
Yeah. The John Wick universe. So I guess the thing I'll say right away is that this movie fits right in with the John Wick series. I think people, if they ask, I like John Wick, but am I going to like the spinoff? I would say, well, if you like John Wick, you're going to like this. Yeah. Because the things that you were going to like about John Wick, they do the same in this one. You're going to see all the cool action like you're talking about.
Yeah.
And the John Wick movies, and this one included, are to up close personal combat action what the Mission Impossible movies are to big stunt set piece action.
Yeah.
Right? They're the top of their respective fields of what they do.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. So I did want to go through some of the movie a little bit, not beat by beat. This is not a breakdown the movie and story type thing.
No.
I'll just say going in, I think I was a little worried about I don't know, how are they going to make me care about this character?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And right from the beginning, I was already kind of I think they're going to have a hard time making me care about this character. Because they're doing the backstory with the little girl. I'm I see everything they're doing. It's not new territory.
It's not new territory at all.
And it's just kind of just kind of get me to the stuff I know I'm here for, is how I felt. Luckily, I don't feel like they drag it out too long.
No.
And I started to get worried that they were going to drag it out too long.
They know right when to just flip the switch to be this is just a straight, nonstop action movie.
And I think when I was kind of felt the relief was we have obviously the beginning action sequence, which is fine.
It's
but
good,
it's kind of,
It's fine, yeah.
And then we get her meeting Winston. Winston's going to take her to this family and this orphanage. And we jump ahead in time, and she's doing the ballet stuff, and I'm kind of well, whatever. But then it gets to her training montage.
Yeah.
And unbelievably, the training montage was awesome. And I was okay, if you're getting me with the training montage, we haven't even gotten to the cool, she's actually fighting people yet.
Yeah.
I feel good now. We're doing this.
Yeah.
This is working.
Yep. And then from that point on, it is basically just it just never stops being action.
Yeah. I would bet you're exactly right. Number of punches / kicks or items thrown or bullet shot outnumber words that Ana de Armas says in this movie. Any one of those three, like on their own.
Absolutely.
Because it's just so much action.
It just doesn't stop. And even like so it's like you get your training montage and you're like, it's like we've seen all this before, but it's cool. It's really well done. And then we get some action, and then like there's this, like she leaves a nightclub and like there's that really cool shot with the car and blah blah blah. You're like, okay, now we're gonna slow down for a second. And then she goes to this dude to buy, these is not really spoilers, she goes to this dude to get guns. You're like, okay, I get what this scene is. She's gonna load up on guns. We'll probably get another montage of her like loading up no, we just get another action scene. And from that point on, every time you think the movie's gonna slow down for a second, it's just another action sequence.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I don't even know how long this movie was.
2 hours.
Was it 2 hours?
I think it was 2 hours and like 2 minutes or 1 minute.
Okay. See, like I love when I leave a movie and I go, I don't know how long that was.
Because you weren't worried about it at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and throw up a spoiler warning, though. I think we've
I mean,
clearly
there's
established
really
now,
not much to spoil.
But just in case, we've clearly established like it's good. Go see it if you haven't seen it.
The thing that was spoiled is if like we describe some of the specific action, you need to see it for yourself first before we describe it. That's exactly what
I was thinking. I want to start describing the action, and it's better if you just don't know and you get surprised with it.
Just watch it.
So the first real like full-on action scene we get with her not training is when she has to protect the girl in the club. Yeah. And so it's her versus all the Asian guys, and of course they're experts.
Of course.
This
movie's not worried about anything like that.
Like I don't know if I'm saying that as like of course I'm just mean like
it's just the way it is. It's
incredible choreographed action that I'm almost surprised that they were just like throwaway bad guys in the beginning. They were so good. I thought, these guys are going to be, are going to come back throughout the movie. And it's like, no, they're just like, they were just awesome in there for one scene, just to establish, hey, she's here
BA.
now. Yeah. But the twist on that one is she's given rubber bullets.
Yeah.
And so like already what do they call it? Gun fu, I think is what they call it, when the up close fighting and the shooting.
Yeah.
And she gets to shoot guys over and over again because she's just got rubber bullets and it's hurting them, but it doesn't put them down. So
which just goes back to our they just are like, what would be really cool if she could just blast these guys repeatedly with this gun.
Exactly.
And it is in fact cool.
Yes. We leave that scene and I want to talk about it. You said it. She's driving away and you're thinking this is over, and it's kind of just a one shot.
It's incredible.
Leaving, shrinking out of sight, and you're like,
and it's almost like a drone footage. You're pretty high up looking.
Yeah, but it looks like a scene ending because she's starting to leave
fade to black. You think,
and then all of a sudden a car hits her and drives her right back into frame, never cutting, and
it's incredible.
It is incredible, and then she fights her way out of that. But just little things like that, little flourishes where we talk about all the time. It's not that the movie doesn't have to be prestige on every level.
No.
But when we talk about when you care enough to put these flourishes, I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Or that's, this is cooler than anything you put enough of those through it, and it doesn't matter that your story is not prestige because the filmmaking, you're doing other cool, inventive things in your movie.
That's probably the best example in that movie, too, of that. Yeah. That shot, that's incredible.
That shot is incredible.
It looks amazing up on the screen. And just an FYI, that scene concludes with her just hitting that dude directly in the face with an axe.
Yeah.
Or a hatchet or something.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome. Awesome. I just go ahead and say this. She's so good in this movie.
Yeah.
She's so convincing.
Yeah. So the other thing, I just wrote this as I was writing things I wanted to make sure I mentioned that they were awesome.
Yeah.
And you already mentioned one, the grenade in the door. But really, there's numerous things because there's a grenade in the door, then there's a grenade, and she flips over a table, and as she's flipping over the table, times it perfectly, and it blows up behind her. It's just...
People started clapping in the theater.
There's a lot of stuff that I just...
Okay, can we park on this scene for just a second?
Yeah.
I think this may be my favorite movie scene of the year so far.
Okay.
And also want to nominate this movie for the GOAT of grenades.
Yeah.
No movie has ever used grenades better than Ballerina.
Yeah.
So paint the picture here. She goes, of course, in these movies, you always just know a guy who has 12 gazillion of the coolest guns ever. Mm-hmm. So she goes to see this guy, as you must. And that's when I was like, okay, I get this. Well, then all of a sudden, I don't even know who, just bad guys show up, and she doesn't have time to grab guns, so she just grabs like a belt or like a thingamajiggy of grenades.
If I remember correctly, because, they chased him basically like into the storehouses of this gun shop.
Right.
And she tries to grab a couple guns, but I think it's because all the other guns aren't loaded. So each one she
you're
grabs,
right. She
like,
picks one up and looks at it.
This doesn't have. And so the only thing she can grab that doesn't have to be loaded, it's as it comes, is grenades.
And then we get, 3 to 5 minutes maybe?
Something like
that. Of just her blowing people up. And it is incredible. When that scene ended, I literally just wanted to stand up and applaud. There are so many cool shots in that. The table thing is unreal. Mm-hmm. And just an FYI, the camera does not cut away when this dude just explodes.
Right. This is a movie that I would love to see the making of.
Yeah.
Like, how did y'all choreograph this? How did you time it all out? Like, when you flipped it over, what's behind there that's blowing up? What's effects put in post? I just don't know.
It's got to be a combination of real in-house stuff with CGI, I would think. It just is like... Again, this is where you can just go, you know what? Sometimes I love to break down Killers of the Flower Moon, and sometimes I just like to watch people get blown up with grenades.
Yeah. I don't want to give anything away for a future podcast, but I did watch a double feature. I watched The Phoenician Scheme, and then I watched this. And I did think strategically watching it in that order because I thought, I know Wes Anderson type movies, they're a very deliberate pace. I was like, and it'll be much easier to go from that and then be like, oh, the energy of what I think Ballerina is going to be, as opposed to watching the energy of Ballerina and then trying to mellow out to.
Yeah. And
I was exactly right. After that Wes Anderson movie, I was like,
wait, are you trying to tell me there's not a lot of grenades in this new Wes Anderson movie?
Shockingly, actually.
Oh my gosh. Never mind. Forget it. I'd have never thought that.
Cannot wait till we get to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm going to go see it this week. So.
Okay.
But yeah, that just may be my favorite sequence of the year so far. Just that whole scene with the grenades. It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm skipping around, but I'm talking about the things that stood out in all these action sequences. So here's one. Kind of awesome. It wasn't one I thought was kind of a bit much. The ice skates. Which she basically takes on a bunch of dudes, and she's in this town that's full of...
Okay, I just want to say I love the story or the screenplay of this movie where it's like, hey, town of assassins.
Yeah, and she doesn't know that's what she's going to. She's arriving at this destination, doesn't realize.
And again, you get to that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You get to that point and you're like, okay, we're probably going to have a little bit of a slowdown here. She's going to kind of, get the feel of the land and stuff. No, she just instantly gets attacked. And then the whole rest of the movie is just that guy on the loudspeaker, like, everyone kill the outsider. And it's like once I realized that's what they were doing, I was like, awesome.
Yeah. And it's some great gags because you as a viewer at first don't know. Like, she goes in this bar, and then a guy comes in and everybody else kind of clears out and she has to fight that guy and you're like, oh gosh. But then the girl working there starts fighting her and you're like, oh gosh, her too. And then people with a family and all of a sudden they're attacking
everybody.
You're like, what? And then you realize as it's revealed that this is a community that was built for assassins to be have their own community and raise families, but they're all in this world.
It's incredible.
It is. So yeah, while she's navigating that, which by the way is the last, I don't know, third of the movie.
Oh yeah, it's at least the last 30 to 45 minutes of that movie.
So yeah, I mean that's where we spend much of the time.
Cool setting,
and it's her just
like a
trying
snowy,
to get away.
mountainous place. Really cool setting.
Yeah. So she just had to manage to survive with whatever she can find around her, and
no problem for her.
She's in a shed or something. I don't know. She finds some ice skates, and people are busting in, and she's just happened to use the blades of the skates to fight.
I loved it. I loved it.
It's a bit cheesy. It's a bit okay, wow, I don't know if ice skates can do that, but they made it work.
They made it work. A couple, since we're just kind of throwing out things that were cool, there's a scene, it's really great camera stuff in this movie. The camera's on her, and kind of in the background, someone comes around the corner. She just chucks an axe, nails this dude, and then it cuts to someone a level below, and the body of this guy with an axe just falls and splats on this table. Awesome. This is just amazing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yes. And then we get what's probably the big, it's supposed to be the wow part of the movie because John Wick shows up.
Right.
It's, he gets sent there to stop her. And this part in particular, and we'll get to this later, felt very tacked on to me.
I agree. They could have made this movie without Keanu Reeves even being in it. But
I thought for what they did handle it perfectly in this. Like, they had a little showdown. I was like, okay, what are you going to do? Neither one's going to be able to kill each other.
Yeah.
So, like, you're putting yourself in a bad position here. But then I thought they handled it well. It actually well.
Just leave.
And they did it right by letting John Wick he's still the best.
Yeah.
They didn't try to do this thing like, hey, it's her movie, so we've got to show that she can even take down John Wick.
He gets the best of her at every...
And the way they played off is Wick doesn't want to kill her.
Yep.
So he's like trying to just get her to leave. So like all throughout this fight, he's got these opportunities he could kill her, because he won't kill her. He just has to keep fighting her off.
Yeah.
And he keeps getting the best of her, getting the upper hand. And
just
I was
go or just leave or whatever.
That's the right way to play it.
Where
John Wick maintains his like, hey, he's the unbeatable top guy. But yeah, she gets to like have a little square off with him and then kind of get his blessing to. And
it still kind of makes him seem BA, because he's like, you've got till midnight. Like, I'll give you till midnight. And at that time, it's like 25 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the flamethrower.
Good gosh. It's also maybe the all-time great use of flamethrowers in a movie.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Multiple flamethrowers.
Sorry, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yours is great, but it's much briefer. And
yeah. This is incredible.
Yeah. Not only is it incredibly cinematic, they utilize it to its fullest potential. Like, when she first does it, I'm like, oh, they did that for a cool shot. No, for about 5 minutes, she's flamethrower fighting her way through this town.
She just smokes so many people with that flamethrower. Slow motion, close-ups of people being on fire. I wonder if this movie set some kind of record for fire stunts.
It may have.
I don't know. I should have looked.
Which, as a quick aside, I saw a meme. We keep going back to Mission Impossible, but I saw like Tom Cruise now has the world record for most like fire parachute drops or whatever at like 16. And I was like, I wonder what the previous record was, because I bet it wasn't 15.
Yeah.
Like
beating the previous record of 1.
Right. By everybody who accidentally had it happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so back to the flamethrowers. It goes back to like, are those a real kind of flamethrower? Because it's much more compact. Can flamethrowers, I mean, they are really cool the way they shoot, like directionally different than I've ever seen them film before. Again, like you said it already, I don't care. I don't care because it looked so cool.
Yeah. And it's like, if you really wanted to be that guy, it's like, man, that's really worked out well that she just wandered into this room, opened this box, and she's like, cool. And the next time you see her, she has this awesome flamethrower and a flame repellent suit and everything. It's like, she really stumbled across a good find there.
Yeah, she did.
And luckily, this bad guy also has one of these. Who cares? Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah. Which he was tracking her down, and he walked right across her same path and saw that she had taken one of the two in the case.
Right. I guess that's fair.
But we're talking about just these filmmakers knowing what's going to look cool.
Yeah.
From the beginning of that scene, like you said, her opening case, not showing us and just having her say cool. This character who's used every kind of weapon, it seems like, up to this point, looking at something saying cool, already you're like, oh, this is going to be awesome.
What is this? Yeah.
What's making her say cool? But then when her flamethrower finally runs out of, like, gas, I guess, fuel, whatever, and the other guy still has his, and he's chasing her down, and she finds the fire hose. This is them going, you know what's going to look awesome? Flamethrower, fire hose, colliding.
And giving no thought to why there would ever be a industrial strength fire hose in this snowy mountainous town. Who cares?
Yeah.
If you want to pick it apart, you can, and it'll probably drive you nuts. But you also just have to be able to go turning the switch off in my brain. Don't care.
Yeah. I don't care if that's not exactly what would happen if those two things met.
Don't care.
The aerial shot of those two hitting and the smoke and
it's awesome.
Like you're saying, you almost want to stand up in the theater and just be like, yes. Bravo.
Job well done, sir.
This is what I came for.
This is what I paid my money for.
I thank you.
Yes. Precisely.
Yeah. So that, I mean, really, that's kind of the culminating action. She maybe takes out a few more people, and then she's ultimately after this Gabriel Byrne villain guy.
For reasons.
And she gets him, and I'm glad they didn't try to make it like, okay, now she's got to him, and he's going to be the toughest one to beat yet because he's the final boss. It's and again, not something new necessarily. He villain monologue singing and talk his way out of it, or and just when it sounds like he's seen being confident, she just
shoots him in the head.
Yep, and then we're done.
And it's kind of one of those things where you're like, it'd be really cool if she just shot this guy in the head mid sentence, and then that's exactly what she does. Yes. And then you're right. I always feel like in action movies, it's a real skill to know we're done. Killed the bad guy. We maybe have 3 to 5 more minutes of movie. Over. Mm-hmm. We're out. Because I came to see the action and the stunts and the shooting and all that stuff. And I did. And I don't need some long, drawn-out ending where everything falls perfectly into place. Don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They give us the get ready for a sequel type ending because it ends with her getting a bounty put on her head.
Yeah.
And a lot of people getting the notification and her just seeing it.
Okay. And then she just
calmly commenting like, I guess I should start,
need to be on the run now.
Yeah, getting a little bit on my way. And then we cut to credits.
Yeah.
And my thought was, yeah, you make a Ballerina 2, I'll be there.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about the people behind this project. Mm-hmm. And so it was directed by Len Wiseman. Len Wiseman did some Underworld movies. He did Live Free or Die Hard. He did the Total Recall remake, kind of all movies that I'm like, yeah, I like all those movies.
Yeah, none of my favorite movies, but just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, like would say great like TNT movies. You stumble across them.
Yep. Just on cable, and I'll watch it.
Yeah, it was has 2 written by critics. Shay Hatton, who wrote John Wick 3 and 4, Army of the Dead, Day Shift, Rebel Moon. Not a lot of stuff I like there. I mean, like I like obviously John Wick 3 and 4, but like I'm not super psyched by your ability to write those movies.
No.
And then Derek Kolstad, who wrote John Wick 1 through 4, and then Nobody, which is the most John Wick movie that's not a John Wick movie.
Right.
So
correct.
Again, not
so this
showing,
dude likes
not showing the range. He's just this is what he does.
Yeah.
That said, having given those credits, it's hard to really say that those are the people who wrote and directed this movie because apparently, when you look into the trivia, almost all the trivia is about how this movie was, and it's a little divisive. Either had just some reshoots, or it was basically remade.
Yeah.
And
this movie got delayed a year.
It's who's to know was it 75% remade? Was it 10% remade?
I don't never know.
And the remakes were basically redirected by Chad Stahelski, who directs all the John Wick movies.
Yeah.
And the reporting was that the early test screening wasn't very good for the initial, Len Wiseman cut of this movie. That Chad Stahelski was not happy with it. Apparently, I think with the Continental, the spinoff show, not doing well, and John Wick 4 didn't do as well. They're like, we can't afford for this spinoff to not work. So like, it's got to work. So he was like, I can't release it if it's not up to our standard. And so they did all these reshoots. And I mean, so I don't know, directing wise, you can say Len Wiseman directed, but it might have been more directed by Chad.
Right. In 5 years, it'd be like, release the Wiseman cut.
It does make me super curious as to what his movie was.
Me too. And I'll say this, usually if you hear stories of like a year delay, complete reshoot or a partial reshoot, usually it shows.
Yeah.
Because you're like, boy, this movie was a mess. This wasn't. So whatever they did, I don't know, like just kind of streamlined it. And, it was like, look, we're trying to, like, I don't know. It's all speculation, but like nothing about this version of this movie that came out felt like a mess to me.
I think I can see some of the cracks. For one, I would bet money that Keanu Reeves wasn't in the Len Wiseman cut.
That's fair. That's fair.
I don't think the Keanu Reeves stuff, like especially the unnecessarily feels like, so we got to tack that on. I think that whole everything at the resort, ski town or whatever, might have been different than what was in the original Wiseman cut. Because if there was as much reshooting as some people posit,
then it's significant.
That whole thing might have been
fair
different.
enough.
But I think early on the plot's not very complex. Obviously, we said that, and it doesn't matter.
Right.
But when I was trying to get my bearings on what is this movie going to be, there was a couple times where it's like, I think it's kind of clear. Like there was a couple different visions. So like you have the plot line of the little girl that's Norman Reedus's daughter that comes into it.
Okay,
that felt like from a different story.
You're right. You are right.
I think that was the main place where I felt like
You're right. That's fair.
And I wonder if the Lynn Wiseman one didn't have a lot more to do with that.
I think you might be right.
And
then you've also got, and maybe this doesn't factor in at all, but you've got the whole, I thought my sister was dead. And yeah, you're right. I guess maybe now that I think about it, maybe you do see little glimpses of it.
And one of the things I did see talked about in the reshoots is that they definitely said they were adding more action sequences. And I wonder if they were trying to do too much plotting in the Wiseman one. And he was like, look, man, that's not what anybody's here for that. And that's maybe why the test audiences are like, and ultimately, like, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, like, it was never going to be that. So I wonder if they just started tearing out chunks of story and just saying, instead, another action sequence.
I mean,
and it was the right decision.
I was to say, as an audience, it makes me happy because I'm not going to anything that has John Wick in the title or is associated with that universe. I'm not going to any of that for plot. No. I mean, that's really kind of the secret success of John Wick is how, you know, people are like, dude, this movie's literally about a guy who his dog got killed.
Yeah.
Like, that's what people love to say about John Wick, you know, and it's just like, doesn't matter. Yeah, we're not going to this for, you know, we go to some movies because we want deep and we want to think and we want plot and we want character development. I'm not going to this for any of that.
No. It also, like, it was so much was redone that I know, like, the score was redone. Mm-hmm. So there was somebody that came in and did a score for the Wiseman version, and then the people who did the actual John Wick scores were brought in to, like, redo the score. And I thought that was apparent that they had an involvement in it because it wasn't quite exactly the John Wick score, but it had, like, a similar tone.
John Wick vibes.
I was like, oh, they're going for John Wick adjacent to let you know we're in the world, but this isn't, you know, his exact
different,
theme.
But it's the world.
Yeah, you can just kind of tell it's connected. So I think that was and I'll say this. It's very common for film people to say, you know, like, studio interference is always a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think this is probably an example of a time where, like, hey, sometimes studio interference is a good thing. Sometimes the director's vision isn't the best. Sometimes they need to come in
They're
and
overthinking this.
Say, hey, man, like, this is not up to the John Wick level of action. That's what we need. And that can be a good thing for the studio to interfere with.
You're right. I think maybe I kind of guess what I kind of meant too is just like sometimes it's so apparent that there's multiple kind of because it's like this movie's an incoherent mess.
No, you're right.
And like this, I guess what I mean is like this still feels very straightforward. Like they didn't interfere with like, wait, what? I mean, sometimes it's really obvious when there's interference.
Like Madam Web.
That's a great example.
Where it's
an like, this is
mess
just,
and you're like, this movie doesn't even make sense.
Doesn't even make sense,
yeah. Let's talk about some of the cast.
Yeah.
So let's start with the lovely Ana de Armas.
Yeah.
My notes, I wrote 3 things. I said, beautiful, likable, no complaints. But, all right, here's probably going to be my biggest hot take.
Okay.
All right. So forgive me here. I love Ana de Armas. Everybody knows that's well established. All right. If she presented her hand to me for holding, I would take it.
You would hold her hand?
I would.
Okay.
I would.
Good to know.
You know, interlocked fingers.
You go interlocked fingers. Okay.
I would. And I think she does a great job in this. Mm-hmm. She's game for everything they do. You said it. She pulls it off. I give her a ton of credit. That said, I don't think it really matters that it was her in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with John Wick, it is very important. It's critical that it's Keanu Reeves. Mm-hmm. Right? If you change Keanu Reeves to anybody else,
not John Wick
even
anymore.
Other action here, they all just bring a different tone and a different, you know, aura about them than Keanu Reeves does. And you're right, it's just a different movie.
It is. I agree. I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's an accurate take.
With Ana de Armas, I love her and she does everything great in this. I think there's probably 20 other actresses that if you replace Ana de Armas with this, it changes nothing about the movie.
I cannot disagree with that. Okay. And that's the thing is though, like it's not an insult to Ana de Armas.
And you know what? Some of it's a compliment to her because as much as that's like a cool thing for Keanu Reeves that you were so distinctly John Wick, it's also much harder for Keanu Reeves to be other things in other movies. Mm-hmm. Whereas Ana de Armas, I think she can do all kinds of roles.
Yeah.
I think she'll have no trouble going from this to something totally different.
Right.
And I agree. So that's part of the positive for her. The negative is because she's not so distinctly this, it makes it not so necessary that it's her.
So I was thinking about this during the course of the movie a little bit. I think, we've talked about it before. I think the golden standard for just BA woman female characters is still Linda Hamilton in Terminator 2. And I think that goes to your point where it's like, that has to be Linda Hamilton. And you're right. This doesn't have to be Ana de Armas. That being said, though, like I feel like I say this a lot here, but it's like, again, I'm not saying she should get an Oscar for this movie, but I do think performances like this are underrated. Where it's like because it's like in Hollywood, like they have access to every tool to pull, like every trainer, they have nutritionists, they have specific combat specialists that teach them, but you still have to be able to do it. And you're just not like, come on, this. I mean, I don't know what she weighs. I don't know. What does she weigh? 30 pounds? I don't know. I'm not good with weight. It could. My point is, like, it could be so easy to be like, this lady is not beating up and murdering all these people. I never once thought that during this movie.
Yeah.
Because you have to have just, like, you can get the training, you can get the physical training, all those things, but it's like, you still have to have some kind of, like, vibe and pull all this off. And she does.
No, you're absolutely right. My brother is big on this. I mean, for just anybody who's in an action movie, he's like, do they pass the like athlete test? And because, my brother's played sports and been in sports his whole life. He works for a pro soccer team, and
so he knows what he's talking about.
Like, he knows how you look at somebody, you can just tell, like, are they an athlete? Do they move like an athlete? And he's like, it takes them really out of a movie when you watch somebody and you're like, I can tell they're not an actual athlete. They're just trying to play one.
Yeah. And they've got all the movie tricks going for them.
And you're right. I think with Ana de Armas, I would imagine she is a very athletic person. She moves gracefully and smoothly, and like nothing about her makes me go like, I don't think she's actually that coordinated or athletic.
Yep. She's convincing.
So yeah. And I was thinking about this with Keanu. Like, it was never fair. It would never be fair to compare the two either, because one of the things about Keanu, besides just his look, like, Keanu's got a lot of things going for him. He's very stoic in his look, but he also kind of looks like a lovable puppy dog.
Yeah.
And somehow that combination makes him the perfect John Wick, where you're going to sympathize with this guy and be like, I'm with you, you cold-hearted assassin, as you go through. Whereas Ana de Armas is like, you could be a beauty queen, or, or
a stone cold killer.
Yeah. Like, I guess the thing is, she's not stone cold at all. She's got a very warm look about her, and that's fine. And it's fine in this movie. But what else Keanu Reeves has is a long history with us.
Right.
Of being, even just an action star, from Speed
He's
to
still
the Matrix movies to John Wick. When he shows up, it's kind of like, oh, the old hardened action star. We carry that with us. Maybe years from now and more action movies from now, we'll look back and be like, well, of course Ana de Armas was the perfect choice for Ballerina. She's had this whole action career that's, we carry with us now, and it will just seem so natural. And we'll forget that when it first happened, we were like, oh, she was good, but it was a surprise for it to be her. So, yeah, I mean, this could be Speed for her, where it's like, oh, look at her doing this.
Yeah. I mean, it's a win for me. I do agree with you. It doesn't specifically have to be Ana de Armas, but it is, and she's up for the task. And it's one of those things, it's kind of hard to put your thumb on it. Like I said, you just kind of have to have the right vibe. So like when we talked about that first big action sequence with her after her training, when she walks into that nightclub, there's kind of like the trailer shot of her walking in. She's kind of got like an overcoat.
Big fur coat.
And you're just like, yeah, like she looks cool doing this. And as stupid as it sounds, you have to be able to pull that stuff off.
Yeah.
It's not hard. I'm not saying it's great acting, but just like that presence and that vibe you're carrying into that scene, you have to do it. Even though it's a completely different movie and a completely different performance, it's just like we talked about with Anya Taylor-Joy in Furiosa. When she's driving these vehicles in the desert wearing these big goggles, she makes it look, she pulls it off. And you have to. Otherwise, you're just going to be like, this is stupid and I've seen all this before.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give her a big thumbs up. And side note, I hope one day you do get to hold her hand.
Oh, thank you.
I would really,
Andy,
appreciate that, or be happy for you.
I'd be happy too.
Yeah, I know you would.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Obviously, I said cool of him to show up in the movie again. Felt like a tacked on thing, but he did it. He wasn't some stars, and this is the great thing about Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves has a sort of famous, like, he's just such a nice guy, good guy, reputation. I could see a lot of movie stars, they're like, hey, we need you to show up in this, and be like, this is not my movie.
Not my problem.
She's the star, gets to take out the main bad guy. You just need me to kind of like show up to like, no. But what I did right is I said, this feels a little bit like when a famous band signs a smaller band to the record label. And they're like, to help promote you and get you out there, because you're, a band that's to our label now, our singer is going to feature on your first song. He's going to guest with you on the song. Mm-hmm. But when you hear it, all it really does for the audience is make you go, that's why the famous singer is in the famous band.
Yeah.
And the other band's guy's just not as good. That's what it felt like a little bit. Like, in some ways, having John Wick elevates it. And in some ways, it's like going, you shouldn't have even put Wick around this.
Just let her have her moment.
Now, that said, I say that. I don't really mean to say, like, once Wick showed up, I was like, well, she looks bad now.
No.
I don't mean to say that. But I just mean to say, like, it just was a reminder that you're getting the spinoff of John Wick instead of...
Yeah.
It made you feel like you were watching a spinoff instead of its own thing.
Right. Oh, I agree with that completely. But when you do get Keanu to come on board with this, it does kind of feel like it's Keanu Reeves like giving this movie his own thumbs up. Like, what? Yeah, this is pretty cool. I'll be a part. Because I'm sure he can call his own shots when it comes to this John Wick stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they've all made a ton of money. I don't think it's like, man, I'm really handcuffed here. I have to show up in this Ballerina movie. Like, I don't think he would have been in this movie if he didn't want to be in this movie.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So, they were. I agree with you. They were really smart with how they handled him and how much screen time they gave him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my bit of trivia I wanted to share from this one. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the best trivia was all about like the reshoots and stuff. That was the most interesting stuff. But I did write this because it didn't occur to me that this movie reunites Keanu Reeves with Ana de Armas after Knock Knock in 2015 and Exposed in 2016.
I don't even know what that is.
I've not seen either of those movies. I've heard of Knock Knock.
Knock Knock is not good.
But like,
it's an Eli Roth movie.
And I'm gonna say that's why I didn't see it, because I don't care.
Maybe
for
this
Eli
is my
Roth.
hot take. I just don't like Eli Roth at all.
I'm not a fan either.
No.
Exposed is a movie that kind of looked like a straight to DVD.
I've literally never heard of it.
So
I think Knock Knock may be Ana de Armas' film debut, maybe,
or maybe at least American film debut. Because I think she did some stuff, that was like Spanish language.
Could be
things. Sorry if that's not accurate. But here's what that made me realize. Keanu Reeves, he's had these weird stages to his career, obviously, and the John Wick movies felt like a big late career resurgence, comeback. He hasn't actually really done anything worthwhile outside of the John Wick movies.
No.
Since 2014 when the first John Wick came out.
Yeah.
I mean, I read that and I go like, so after John Wick came out and we're all like, Keanu's back.
He's just been doing John Wick.
Knock and Exposed, and then we get John Wick 2. And like, he's, shown up in a couple other places, but not really anything.
And even some things he's trying to do
note.
that maybe you think would have been big. Like, they made a third Bill and Ted movie.
Yeah.
And it just... Like, it was one of those things everyone thought they wanted a third Bill and Ted movie, and then they made a third Bill and Ted movie, and I've never heard one person have a conversation about it.
Yeah. And like, I saw it.
I've never even seen it.
And it wasn't like, it was a Bill and Ted movie.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like horrible based on what your expectations would be. It was just kind of forgettable. I'm not going to remember it like you do like the original Bill and Ted.
Yeah. I wonder if doing that fourth Matrix, which was kind of a bust.
That was another one that he did.
I wonder if that just kind of made him go like, yeah, I'm just John Wick now. Because that fourth Matrix movie just didn't work, and I don't think it made a lot of money, and it just wasn't, it was just a nothing. And I wonder if after that he was like, it's fine, I'll just be John Wick.
So he's got a new movie coming up, a movie that I think is written and directed by Aziz Ansari, where he's an angel.
Correct. And Aziz Ansari's in it.
And I'll be honest, like, the preview didn't really excite me.
No.
So I'm just kind of like, I mean, we talked about it recently with Hardy. Like, Hardy needs another hit. Kind of like, Keanu's got his hits. I mean, he's playing the hits with John Wick, so it's not like he's hurting. But I don't know. He's also an interesting actor because he's not even like Tom Cruise, where we talk about like, Tom Cruise, I love that you're doing all the stunt stuff and Mission Impossible, but at some point remind everybody you're a really good actor. Mm-hmm. Keanu,
it's debatable.
You're not quite the same. Like I said, Keanu can't just do any role like Ana de Armas could just do any type of role.
The worst thing about Keanu is that he's just so Keanu.
Yes.
It's just hard for him to disappear into a role because he just literally can't not sound like Keanu Reeves. Mm-hmm. Like every movie he's ever been in, he just sounds like Keanu Reeves. And yeah, it's tough for him. But look, if I was in his shoes and if the ending chapter of my movie career was just I got to be John Wick, so be it.
Yeah.
So be it. I mean, he's still got Bill and Ted and Speed and Point Break and Matrix. And
he's got a Hall of Fame career.
He's fine.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, because they are doing a John Wick 5.
Yeah.
That's official.
Which, cool.
I'll go see it.
I will allow it.
I hope it's not as long as John Wick 4 was, though.
Yeah.
The movie was just
John
way
Wick
too
4
long.
was my least favorite of the
Agreed.
franchise. And not even because there was bad stuff in it. It was just too long.
It was way too long.
It makes me not want to rewatch it.
It was way too long.
So going back, wanted to finish it out with the cast, even though there's not anything.
Not a whole lot else to talk about, really.
I just wrote Ian McShane and Angelica Houston, and I wrote, sure, I don't really care.
Yeah,
it's kind of like bringing back these people. Ian McShane, look, I think he's talented. He has sort of a presence, but I also
he's very one note. I think
they treat him like he's critical to the John Wick universe the same way Simon Pegg is critical to the Mission Impossible universe.
It's not the same,
and it's not.
No.
He didn't show up and I go, oh, sweet, Winston's here.
No, I didn't either.
Could have been anybody else and I wouldn't have cared.
I mean, it really doesn't matter, I don't think, who's giving how good of a performance in this movie. It's all about explosions and grenades and her just kicking butt the whole movie. So no one's bad. No one's dragging it down. But you're right. It's just kind of like, okay, Angelica Houston's in this movie. That's fine.
I felt the same way about Norman Reedus. He's kind of like, he looks like a guy who'd be in a John Wick world.
He kind of does. He has nothing to do in this movie.
Yeah.
I will agree with you. That whole thing with him and his daughter feels like it's from a different movie. You were right. I misspoke. Like, that just feels like it's out of a different movie. And we're just out of nowhere supposed to care. Like, this guy just loves his daughter so much and he's trying so hard to protect her. And it's like, I don't really care, honestly. That kid has zero charisma in this movie or anything, and it's just like, honestly, for all I care, Ana de Armas could chuck a grenade in their room and just get him out of this movie.
Yeah. That's another one. I wonder if, a year from now we'll find out, like, Norman Reedus originally was in like 40% of this movie, but the reshoots just cut him down to like
hardly nothing.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Gabriel Byrne, is he that guy, do you think? I mean, obviously, like, we know him as Gabriel Byrne. To me, he's Gabriel Byrne, but he might be a little higher than that guy's status, but he's not much.
Not a household name. You're right. Like, if here's that guy, here's household name. He's just like one, maybe notch above that guy.
There's something about Gabriel Byrne that he always... I said he's the perfect villain for this movie because he's always competent, but he always feels like he's the lesser version of some other actor. Mm-hmm. Like... He was supposed to be somebody actor who's a little bit better,
but they had to get Gabriel Byrne,
and they couldn't well get the understudy, get Gabriel Byrne, who's always like a suitable replacement.
He's fine, he's fine. It's satisfying when she blasts him in the head, and he's fine.
Yeah, he kind of always looks like a bad guy.
Yeah, he does. He's got that slime ball energy.
Yeah. All right. So you kind of beat me to this with a little bit of reference earlier, but I just wanted to talk through this briefly and just think Ballerina's kind of big picture potential, like long term. It's too early to say this for sure, but I was wondering, does this character, Eve in Ballerina, have the potential to earn her way onto the female action hero Mount Rushmore? I think 2 spots are just locks.
Sarah Connor and Ellen Ripley?
Exactly. Yeah. I think almost universally people are going to agree. Connor, Ripley, those are 2 of the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
And then there's probably a whole pool of candidates. And I've got a bunch of names to kind of throw your way. Just, so the ones that I say I would put in real contention are Furiosa, Trinity from The Matrix, The Bride from Kill Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Rita from Edge of Tomorrow, that's an Emily Blunt character, and then Eve from Ballerina. Some kind of honorable mentions, and this again, I kind of Googled it and saw like they provided me this whole big list, and it's Ilsa Faust just for being from the Mission Impossible franchise. Probably not. Natasha Romanoff, of course, Black Widow. Atomic Blonde.
Charlize.
Which is
Wait,
one
is that Charlize?
Yeah, it is. It's the one I thought of a lot when I thought of, Ana de Armas, and it not having to be her was like, this felt like Charlize did a very similar thing in Atomic Blonde. And I think it's an underrated movie where they do a lot of really cool action
not
choreography
enough
in that
people
one
talk
too.
about that movie. It is cool.
And I love Charlize just like I love Ana de Armas, so and then some ones that were popular but would never be on my choice for it. You've got your Star Wars characters like Leia or Rey.
Nah.
You got Letty Ortiz from the Fast and Furious movies. Don't care.
Don't watch those.
And the big one would be Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games. And you know what? I also don't. I'm sorry, I just don't care about that.
Yeah, I like the Hunger Game movies, and Jennifer Lawrence does a good job, but I don't think it's Mount Rushmore.
I would never consider it.
I don't think it's out of the possibility for Ana de Armas to be on Mount Rushmore. I agree completely. Sarah Connor is the gold medal winner. I think Ripley is absolutely second. I love The Bride being on there because I'm just a huge
if it was yours for sure, that one would be on there.
I'm a huge fan. I think Uma Thurman does incredible stuff in those two movies. I'm not, as Woody would say, like, I reserve the right to change my mind, but I'm not ruling out having her on there.
Yeah. I think
but I also really like the idea of having Furiosa on there too.
I would say I think
that would probably go a little bit above Ana de Armas, but
yeah, I think I go Connor, Ripley, Furiosa would be kind of my three locks, and then
I think mine would be Connor, Ripley, Furiosa, The Bride.
Yeah,
not in 1, 2, 3, 4 order, but I don't mind Ana de Armas. I don't mind Eve being right up there.
And like I said, this will likely get a sequel. Well, I don't know. Actually, we got to talk box office, and the setup would imply sequel, but
the box office is not impressive. I'm very sad to say, 25 million opening in the U.S. That's
not great. For its budget was
90
million, 80 to 90 million. Again, there's a lot of dispute on this, in large part because again,
reshoots.
Some people say it was basically reshot, so budgeted twice, I guess you could say. Here's what I would say: okay score from the critics, 75% of Rotten Tomatoes, 94 from the audience. So people are seeing this like this. My hope for this movie would be strong second weekend based on first weekend. A lot of people just going, I just need someone to tell me if it's worth it or not. And if people go see it and go, yes, if you like John Wick, it's worth it. And then they'll go, okay.
Yeah, I'm not ready to write it off as a failure, but it's got some work to do.
Yeah.
It's got some work to do, and it's going to have a really good second weekend, and it's going to have to stick around, which is going to get really hard, as it is in the summer, because, other big movies are coming out and da-da-da. So it really needs to utilize its time between now and, like, F1 and Jurassic World, which is like late June, early July, because then that's just going to swallow movies up.
Yeah. Is it the big release this coming weekend is How to Train Your Dragon, right?
Yes.
I knew it's whatever the big release is one I don't care about because I didn't have it on our
so
board.
I don't think that'll.
There's not a lot of Venn diagram overlap.
There's not.
People who would see those.
I'm rooting for this movie. I want to see this character again.
I have several friends I know that like want to see this movie and just haven't seen it yet. They're not I got to get to the theater on the first weekend type.
So I hope
friends,
it has a good holdover because I would love to see this character again. If you give me a Ballerina 2 that's just a bunch of people trying to cash in on this bounty against her, I'm there instantly.
That's the thing that I love about its potential is even John Wick 1, which I still love John Wick 1, but when you rewatch it, you're reminded like they've got to do some like setting up the world, and they kind of play it up like, oh, he's this normal guy, even though we all know the twist is he's not. And it's a little bit of a slow burn at the beginning. And by John Wick 2, it's like we're in the world and we're just right into it.
I'd love
and they can do the same with Ballerina. And yeah, I would love that. And you're right. That's what I was going to say. If we end up with, a couple of these Ballerina movies, it could be what vaults her into that Mount Rushmore. Because Sarah Connor she was obviously only action hero Sarah Connor in the second one, but it helped that we had the emotional connection of Terminator 1 and then seeing her become this and understanding why.
Correct. That's why she's the goat.
It drives her to it. And then Ripley also had Aliens and then Alien and then Aliens.
Correct.
And then more, but those were the main ones.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So look, I hope there's more. I hope this movie does find its audience. I hope it has some staying power because I think it deserves it. Ana de Armas put in a ton of work to get in shape and to do all these stunts and stuff, and like for her sake I hope this movie wins because she's a really good and she's really convincing in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah,
I would agree. people, go out, support this movie, see it.
I mean, look, if you just want to sit there and, like I said, if you just want to watch people get blown up with grenades, then this is the movie for you, because this is the all-time great grenade movie.
Yeah, a lot of really cool action in this movie.
So cool. Yeah. And I've been watching action movies my whole life, so sometimes it's I'm not saying I'm hard to impress, but there's a lot of like, I've seen that before, been there, done that, and this one was like, cool. This is really cool.
Yeah.
And, just side note, if you're going to make an action movie, make an action movie. Like, I want to see people get blown up with grenades. Like, if you're going to do this, do it. Like, be all in. Go all out. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah. You know that an action movie is good when it feels like it's energizing you as a viewer.
Yep.
Like, I was watching it. It's the second movie of a double feature for me, and I was like, I'm a little tired. I kind of yawned before the movie started, and the movie gets going, and like I find myself like perking up,
dude.
And I'm like, I'm not tired at all right now. That's the kind of movie it is.
There was a couple. So I saw this movie with Ryan, my son Ryan, and my dad, and there was a couple times when all three of us were like, "Oh, we do that thing," where it was just, or like there was a couple times because the action was just like when she blew that dude up when the table was separating, I literally gave it like one of those like, oh man, like one of those type of deals, like awesome. Like I was just pumped up.
Yeah.
So
it's a good time.
It is.
It's one I might have to go just rewatch in theaters. Just
I think I might see this one again.
Of a big screen experience. So a lot of fun. We will be back probably some point later this week with another episode where we'll probably review the Phoenician Scheme.
Yeah,
it'll be a totally different type of episode than this one. This one's
different.
Just, oh wow, and that one's gonna be a little more.
I might have a pipe.
Yes, exactly. That would be
a
very
monocle,
fitting,
maybe
for sure.
Sounds good.
Yes. So please join us for that.
Yeah.
Until then.
See you then.
Yeah, we'll see you.